Enter the vivid kaleidoscope of beautiful landscapes, magnificent archaeological sites, dense forests flourishing with wildlife, pristine beaches, rivers, art and natural heritage. A land of mystery, of ancient temples unearthed from the dunes of sea sand, of colorful tribes whose culture is frozen in time, the sacred ground of Mahayana Buddhism, a land bustling with possibilities, Odisha, the divine land.
Hi, I'm Kim Jagtiani and I am here in Odisha. It is a lush green state that lies along the eastern seaboard of India with the Bay of Bengal on one side and thickly wooded eastern Ghats on the other. This state is really famous for its ancient temples and monuments as well as its many Indian traditional art forms.
I'm here in Odisha for the next couple of weeks to explore this diverse and vibrant state. During this time, I plan to travel extensively and see as many places as possible. And today, I'm starting my journey from Konark, which is one of the most famous destinations here.
I'm at the absolutely spectacular Sun Temple, which in many ways marks the grandest achievement of Odissan style of architecture and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This temple is about 3 kilometers from the sea, but originally at one time the ocean almost came up to its base. In fact, European sailors even referred to it as the Black Pagoda and also used it as a navigational point. Konark is named after its presiding deity, Kona meaning corner and Arka meaning sun, Konark meaning sun's corner.
A pair of colossi, 2 lions, each rampant on a crouching elephant, originally guarded each of the 3 staircases of the porch.
This pillared hall on a high platform is a detached structure that is generally believed to be a festive hall. The sculptures on the pillars depict a carnival of music and dance, which reflects the rhythms of life. A modern flight of steps leads up to the sanctum. However, parts of the roof had caved in a long time ago. Inside, the pedestal is said to have been found empty while cleaning the debris. It is said that the deity has been moved to the Jagannath temple because the structure is now extremely weak and has been filled with sand and sealed on all sides to prevent further damage and collapse.
The Konark temple was conceived as a huge and colossal chariot drawn by 7 galloping horses. The horses were made in such a way that Surya, the sun god himself, drove this chariot, with his place being inside the sanctum.
Each horse represents a day of the week, and the 12 wheels arranged along the base of the temple represent the 12 months. The wheels on the eastern side of the temple also make effective sundials.
There are many amorous couple themes carved on these temple walls. It was believed that the male absorbs virtue and youth from the female. We can also see several sexo-yogic postures sculpted here. Konark is a sensory carnival. It has an interesting mix of the exotic and the erotic. It's a monument of overwhelming grandeur and a place that one must visit at least once in this lifetime. From here I'm headed to Puri, which is about 35 kilometers away. Puri is considered to be one of the four most sacred pilgrimage spots for Hindus and has been so for centuries. Known to be the seat of Lord Jagannath, who is also known to be the Lord of the universe, Puri attracts millions of devotees around the year. This is Puri Beach. Thousands of pilgrims come here to take a dip in its waters, which are said to be holy and blessed. This is also considered to be a purifying ritual, which is performed before heading towards the Jagannath temple.
Jagannath Temple is the largest temple in the state, covering an area of over 10 acres. Within the compound is like a universe in itself. There are over 6,000 temple servitors, and the temple kitchen is one of the biggest in the world, serving over 10,000 people daily.
The principal deities here are Krishna, his brother Balabhadra, and sister Subhadra. They're revered by millions of pilgrims who come to seek Lord Jagannath's blessings.
In fact, the Mahaprasad, or the spiritual food, is first offered to Lord Jagannath and then to goddess Bimla. Only then is it given to the devotees. It is said that even a single bite of the Mahaprasad can lead to spiritual liberation. It's a beautiful evening on Puri Beach. A lot of families out here enjoying the sunset, taking camel rides, horse rides, playing with their children. There are fishermen coming in with their catch of the day. But all this you can pretty much find anywhere in India. What's really unusual on Puri Beach is that sculptors get together to turn this place into an open-air art gallery.
Sand art has been synonymous to Puri for centuries, and many believe that it actually originated from here. Unlike many ancient traditions, this one has not only survived, but is also flourishing. This beach has a really unique charm of its own. The mornings are completely sun-soaked in religious fervor, while the evenings have a really relaxed vibe. It's easy to just become a part of the crowd or find a spot to watch the waves as the sun goes down. Coming up is Raghurajpur, a lovely artisan's village, and a visit to one of Odisha's most beautiful beaches in Gopalpur. The countryside in Odisha is gorgeous, and driving from one place to another is what makes this journey even more pleasurable. I've just stopped by a rustic, idyllic little village called Raghurajpur. It lies along the southern bank of Bhargavi River, and as you can clearly see, it's absolutely gorgeous. There are fruit groves everywhere, it's green, it's lush. But the actual reason I'm here is because of what this village is famous for. It's handicrafts. Some of the finest pieces of art are found right here in this humble little village. Raghurajpur's Pattachitra is an age-old tradition that is still practiced by the Chitrakars and their womenfolk. The word Patta means painting on cloth, and Chitra means painting or picture. So Pattachitra literally means a painting on cloth. These Chitrakars or painters first settled in Raghurajpur around the 12th century, and that's about the same time Jagannath temple was being constructed. In fact, there's a close link between the temple and the Chitrakars because they actually helped the ritualistic activities of Lord Jagannath, especially during the Rath Yatra. The Rath Yatra, or the Chariot Festival, is one of the largest annual festivals in India, during which Lord Jagannath goes on vacation from his temple in Puri to his palace in the countryside. He's accompanied by his sister Subhadra and brother Balabhadra. The journey is taken in grand-sized chariots that are embellished with intricate artwork, most of which is done by artists from Rajpur. Right here in Rajpur are also a handful of artists who are trying against all odds to keep the ancient Indian game of Ganjappa alive. Ganjappa, or the game of cards, was once a pastime of the royalty and was ranked higher than chess and dice. Researchers believe that Ganjappa was brought to India by the Mughals, and ever since, many different variations have been developed. It's really exciting to see so much artwork happening right in front of you. I can't take any of this for granted ever again. Look at how much work and time and effort that goes into the littlest thing. This painter has a really steady hand, and he's painting the idols of Lord Jagannath, his sister Subhadra, and his brother Balabhadra. There's just one more thing left on my list before I leave Rajpur, and that is to explore the living tradition of a performing art that is known as Gotipua. Gotipua means single boy, and it's a beautiful dance form that originated in the 14th century. It's here in Rajpur that one can find some of the best Gotipua Gurukuls. Young boys from neighboring villages are sent to the Gurukul to seek training directly from the Guru. The boys need to be at least 4 years old and go through rigorous training for several years before they can become a Gotipua dancer. बहुत अच्छा किया. Very good. I'm now on my way to the eastern coast of Odisha, which is famous for its beautiful beaches. This is a lovely laid-back seaport town called Gopalpur on sea. It was once a buzzing and prominent trading port of the East India Company, but once the British left, Gopalpur reverted to being a calm and relaxed place with a distinct charm of its own. This town is famous for having one of the most pristine beaches in Odisha. But don't expect to find sunbathers or cool shacks around here. This place is purely for people who love serenity, the ocean, and peace. One of the most prominent landmarks in Gopalpur is the lighthouse. It's 42 meters high and was built in 1871 for assisting coastal shipping between Rangoon and the Coromandel coast. After all of these years, the lighthouse still functions properly. In fact, it's also become a sort of a major tourist attraction here. Oh, wow. Absolutely breathtaking. This has to be the best view in Gopalpur. From here, we can get a 360-degree view of Gopalpur and can see a small portion of Chilika Lake.
The sea, although, looks too tempting to resist. This place is perfect to have really long walks. And if you walk long enough, you could reach the old jetty right here. Although this beautiful port is in ruins, it was from here that ships set sail to Indonesia and Rangoon for trade hundreds of years ago. Just being here revives the romance of a bygone era.
Stay tuned. I'm going to visit the ancient temples in Bhubaneswar, and then I'm off to the stunning Chilika Lake. Next on my route is the capital of Odisha, Bhubaneswar, which is also known as the City of Temples. Bhubaneswar literally means the abode of God. Bhuvan meaning palace, and Ishwar meaning God. This city still preserves over 500 of India's finest temples, which showcase centuries of temple architecture. Although I can't possibly visit each and every temple here, I do plan to begin with some of the most significant and famous ones, like the Mukteshwar temple.
The small and elegant Mukteshwar temple dates back to 950 AD, and it is often referred to as the miniature gem of Orisan architecture. Besides its beauty, it is also an important transition point between early and later phases of the Kalinga school of temple architecture. It has a successful combination of old elements mixed with new concepts and designs. In fact, some of the innovations created right here became essential features of the temples built later. That is why it is known as the harbinger of the new culture.
Muktidata Gupteswara Asiti Aji Mandire Dukha Nivarina Jaere Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya.
This temple is a treasure trove of sculptures. There are so many depictions of ascetics. Most of them are shown either teaching or in meditative poses. Also, around the windows of the Jagmohan is the Panchtantra, which are ancient Indian children's stories. There are niches containing Buddhist, Jain and Hindu images, which shows a wonderful synthesis of religious life in Odisha.
Next on my temple trail is the great Lingraj temple dedicated to Lord Shiva. It was built in the 11th century and apparently soars over the city. Wow. Incredible. Now I can see why the Lingraj represents Orisan architecture at its most mature stage. It's huge. Unlike many of the other temples in Bhubaneswar, the Lingraj is still a place of active worship. However, entry is strictly prohibited for non-Hindus. This viewing platform comes in handy for tourists and non-Hindus, and this is also the best place to enjoy the view of the temple. By the time the Lingaraj temple was constructed, a cult called Purushottam had become predominant throughout Orissa. Evidence of this lies in the fact that the temple deity here is not strictly a Shivling, but a Hariharaling, which means half Shiva, half Vishnu. This is a great example of the syncretic nature of Orissan religion. I really wish cameras were allowed in here. I would love to capture this and take it home.
Later that night, after exploring the city, I decided it was time to try a proper Oriya meal. I'd heard a lot about the traditional cuisine at the Mayfair Lagoon and dropped by to grab a bite.
Let the feast begin. Bon appetit, or as they say in Orissa, Subho Bhojan.
The next morning, I began my journey to Chilika Lake. It's about 100 kilometers from Bhubaneswar.
I've just arrived in Chilika, and now that I'm actually here, I can understand what everyone meant when they said, this lagoon is absolutely massive. And it is. In fact, it's Asia's largest brackish water lagoon, covering an area of over 1,100 square kilometers.
Chilika is a highly productive lagoon ecosystem and has rich fishery resources, which sustain the livelihood of thousands of fisherfolk who live in and around these waters.
Chilika is truly a bird lover's paradise. Millions of birds flock here every year, from white-bellied seagulls and grey-lag geese to flamingos and purple moorhens. Right behind me, a flock of beautiful eagles. It's just stunning. Chilika is designated as a Ramsar site, or a wetland of international importance. This place is home to over 200 species of fish, as well as a huge variety of aquaflora and non-aquatic plants. What I love about Chilika? The fact that there's tiny islands all over the place. This here is Beacon Island, and it's an architectural marvel in its own right. First, it's built on a submerged mass of rock. And second, it was built while the water level was as high as it is today. I've just spent an entire day at Chilika and wish I had some more time, ideally 3 to 4 days, to explore the other beautiful islands around here. But today, nonetheless, was absolutely lovely, really relaxing. The energy here is beautiful. You just feel great, and time, you know, it just slips away.
Still to come is the Bhitarkanika Wildlife Sanctuary. It's famous for being home to the largest estuarine crocodiles. There is just so much to see in Orissa, and I feel like there's just not enough time. So I think I'm gonna head up north along the eastern coast of the state now. What I love most about Orissa is the profusion of natural beauty. Its warm climate and diverse landscape has ensured its place as a haven for wildlife. Although there are several wildlife sanctuaries and parks around here, the one that tops the list is Bhitarkanika. It's one of the most unspoiled wild experiences in the country.
Watching the spotted deer and the monkeys in their natural habitat is so wonderful. In fact, there are many reasons why the Bhitarkanika sanctuary is a hot favorite with naturalists. To begin with, it is the largest mangrove forest in the entire country after the Sundarbans. It's also really famous for being the nesting ground for millions of endangered olive ridley turtles. And finally, the estuarine crocodiles of Bhitarkanika? Well, they hold the distinction of being the largest species of its kind according to the Guinness Book of World Records. There's a croc. Oh, wow. It's nesting time, so you can see a lot of them with their babies.
Today, it's sunny and beautiful. And since the tide is low, I can actually see many crocs sunbathing on the banks. Some are over 6 meters in length, but they're pretty shy creatures. The slightest whiff of human presence, like our approaching boat, makes them quickly slink away into the water. Meandering through the creeks in Bhitarkanika is quite an experience. It's a complete birdwatcher's paradise. This place is flooded with over 170 species of resident and migratory birds. Kingfishers, painted storks, even Argentine storks are around here. It's absolutely beautiful. Yesterday was fun, but I spent most of my time exploring Bhitarkanika by boat. Today, I want to do something different. So I'm going to go for a nature walk on one of the islands. What a welcome relief from the overcrowded parks and sanctuaries, which are always bustling with people and vehicles. That's what I love about Bhitarkanika. From here I can see how vast and dense this jungle is. I can't imagine how much wildlife is actually hidden inside the jungle. Here, it's possible to be just one with nature, truly absorbing the sights and sounds of this pristine island. Apart from being nature's treasure trove, these mangroves provide amazing protective functions. They act as effective shelter belts, especially against natural disasters such as cyclones and tidal surges. In fact, during the unprecedented 1999 supercyclone, these mangroves withstood the onslaught of supercyclonic winds and saved the life and property of millions of people. Could have easily spent more than a couple of days nestled in nature in Bhitarkanika, enjoying the wildlife, the weather. I definitely have to come back.
it's the perfect place to reboot and rejuvenate.
Up next is a colorful weavers' colony, followed by an exploration of ancient Buddhist excavation sites.
Odisha has a rich tradition in handlooms. Their products are known for their highly artistic designs, color combinations, and durability. So I thought I'd visit a small weaver's village to see how they're actually made. I'm at a village called Buddha Jayantipur in Nuapatna, which is famous for using centuries of tradition woven into cloth. This is the one place where you'll find many of the weavers using the old style of weaving, which they've been doing for generations. But their most famous style is the tie and dye pattern here, which is popularly known as ikat. This community of weavers are also closely linked to the Jagannath cult. In fact, one of the specialties of this village is the very rare inscribed Geet Govinda textile.
The Geet Govinda, by the way, is a lovely and romantic rhyme about the love shared between Lord Krishna and Radha. This rhyme is considered extremely dear to Lord Jagannath, who is a form of Krishna. Every night, the deities at the Jagannath temple in Puri are dressed in a special Geet Govinda shawl, on which phrases of this rhyme are woven. Traditionally, only 3 alternating colors were used in the Geet Govinda textile: green for Balabhadra, red for Subhadra, and yellow for Jagannath.
It's really fascinating to see how most of the roots of the art, dance, and culture in Odisha can be traced back to Lord Jagannath.
Cloth is still woven here on pit looms, and the design takes the form of horizontal stripes. The motifs are mainly floral and have fish or animals which are highly stylized. Traditionally, the fabric was only made of silk, but with time, the weavers also started using their techniques on cotton. The process of making the beautiful ikat fabric is very arduous and requires great skill. The first step is to dye the yarn by successively wrapping and tying different sections of the bundle, and then applying one color at a time. This way, the dye penetrates the exposed sections and does not touch the wrapped ones. The color scheme is predetermined with extraordinary precision, so that when the dye threads are woven together, the design appears in the finished textile as if by magic.
Odisha has so many historical and cultural little jewels, but the 3 excavation sites of Lalitgiri, Ratnagiri, and Udaygiri are supposed to be amazing. First Buddhist excavation site I'm visiting is called Lalitgiri. It dates back to the 1st century. It climbed up the ladder of sacred importance during the 1980s when relic caskets were found inside a stupa. Many people believe that the fragments of the bone that were found inside these caskets were that of the Lord Buddha himself.
The next Buddhist excavation site is Ratnagiri, which lies in the Birupa River Valley and is another famous Buddhist center. A large excavation has unearthed 2 large monasteries, a big stupa, Buddhist shrines, sculptures, and a large number of votive stupas. It's here that archaeologists have also dug out a rich crop of ancient artifacts. Some of the highlights are the large Buddha and a host of idols of the Buddhist pantheon. In fact, this head of the Buddha indicates the colossal nature of the original pieces. The excavations here reveal that this Buddhist center was built way back in the 6th century. Both Ratnagiri and Udaygiri belong to a much later phase. In the beginning, this was an important center of Mahayana Buddhism. But around the 8th century, this became the nucleus of Tantric Buddhism. And that is when it spread to other parts of India and around the world. This is the last site of the Diamond Triangle. It's called Udaygiri. It's the largest Buddhist complex in Odisha, and recent excavations have revealed the ancient name of the monastery as Madhavpur Mahavihar. Chronologically speaking, the Udaygiri Buddhist complex was built after Ratnagiri and Lalitgiri. These monasteries probably flourished between the 7th and the 12th centuries. The excavations brought to light a sprawling complex of 2 brick monasteries, a brick stupa, a stepped stone well, and rock-cut sculptures. The highlight of this trip is visiting sites where Buddhist life and culture flourished hundreds of years ago. Broken pieces of sculpture in ancient ruins are unbelievably exciting. But the unexcavated areas are what will really be a mystery for art lovers and archaeologists for some time to come. Stay tuned. My journey comes to an end with a visit to one of Odisha's most unique tribes, the Santals. Odisha has numerous tribes that comprise more than a quarter of the state's population. Many of them have now adapted to the mainstream Indian lifestyle, but some have managed to carefully preserve their distinct way of life. I'm traveling through Kionja right now, which is predominantly a tribal region. In fact, one of their oldest and most distinct tribes are known as the Santals, and they belong to the pre-Aryan period. Namaste.
Namaste.
Kya haal hai?
अच्छा है.
Although the Santals knew I was going to drop by for a visit, I was completely taken by surprise at the warm traditional welcome. After all that dancing, one of the Santo women invited me home. She had a simple place which was really neat and pretty. It was built in the traditional style and color scheme. The colors were all natural. Black made from local stone and yellow and brick red made from the local soil, which is very rich in iron ore. Most of the homes were decorated with different motifs, made by women using chalk or vegetable paint.
Duduk meh. Ma, duduk hataro meh. Ina jomanya gui ya. Enggak ono menggadun. Ibu, gila bira hana fitri re odok le. Maka ona ma topaan ha. Dan wa gila ko do. Bes daralam bodo ja.
आप क्या बना रहे हैं?
Bodo handi ni benaya. Nado unyu ya aboge. Abo ya haje. Haje moy.
This is a really interesting moment right now because they don't understand any language I know, Hindi or English. I don't understand the local dialect that they're speaking. So we're having a very interesting communication happening. Okay.
Này biết đi nhiều cả mấy artist som bam hijo na hai.
Shukriya.
Baba re, biết đi ek khem hadi bin yo. Ai wa ni ka bo ni ho be ji. Aru chop kana aru chop. Na biết sam aru chop. Le no to ya. Artist na ba. Artist na mami ka bache. Odisha bhi la.
I'm having such a great time. What a great way to spend the afternoon with the girls of the village or the ladies of the village. We have no idea what we are all saying, but we're having a lot of fun.
बाजार से है बहुत अच्छा है
So sweet. They brought out, I think, one of their fanciest sarees. आपका चूड़ी अच्छा है. Okay, ठीक है. शीशा है, शीशा है. दिखाओ शीशा. चलो मैं भाग रही हूँ. Bye. Odisha was absolutely amazing. It stretched and satiated my wanderlust to the hilt. There are beaches, wildlife, heritage, art, culture. It has everything rolled into this one state. So if you're bitten by the travel bug and you're wondering where to go, pack your bags and head to Odisha, the divine land.